The session outlines is actually incorporated three main items. The first is self-directed learning. It's specifically in medical education because it is required by the accreditation bodies for medical schools. And the other outline is the team learning in higher education. And the third one is the innovation that we came with. It's my idea. And as a course co-director for cardiovascular organ system, since I'm a course co-director, I was able to implement the idea in collaboration with my collaborators and my teaching faculty, as I will explain shortly. So what is self-directed learning in medical education and why? The self-directed learning in medical education is something the international accrediting bodies and professional associations in USA, particularly as LCME and ACGME, require sufficiency of this pedagogy during medical education. Why? To ensure development of lifelong learning habits. So we as a teaching faculty, we as a course co-directors are been instructed or have been instructed to try to incorporate such pedagogy in our courses during our curriculum, because it's one thing the accrediting bodies requires to be sufficient in the curriculum. What is self-directed learning? Self-directed learning defined by several authors, published already articles related to SDL. One of them is Bernard Bull in 2017. He described it as solitary learning, independent learning, teacher-less learning. Other authors also described it as learners are in control of their learning process. And they define the SDL process with a specific criteria in order to really understand, or to actually not understand, to name it as self-directed learning. It needs to have a specific process. The first process is determine their learning. Learners have to determine their learning objectives. So you leave learners to determine their learning objectives. You leave learners to identify their learning resources, and to leave learners to select and implement their learning strategies. And at the end, you leave learner to evaluate their learning outcomes. So with all of these processes, there are certain skills learners will develop or acquire if you let them do all of these, kind of objectives. What are these skills? Among these skills, they will be able to set their goals. They will be able to self-assess themselves. They will be able to manage their times. They will be able to develop their skills in research. And at the end, they will be able to do the adaptability and the flexibility with their kind of schedule, with their learning styles, and at the end they will be the lifelong learners. So this is does it mean self-directed learning? How about team learning? I'm very interested in, because I'm one thing I forgot to mention, I'm a TBL certified consultant, which means team-based learning certified consultant. I'm very interested in the team-based learning pedagogy. And this innovation is coming from inspiration of team-based learning and the SDL learning, or self-directed learning. So I'm very interested in team learning. And when I came up with this idea, I realized that team learning in higher education, not only team-based learning, it has actually several processes or several pedagogies, as I will mention shortly. But in the beginning, we need to define what does it mean, team learning. Team learning, Elise and their collaborators defined it as team learning is a process that yields a relatively permanent change in the team's collective level of knowledge and skill produced by shared experience of team members, right? Another definition is team learning is defined as the development of shared cognition. So different team members share their cognitive processes for learning. So team learning as educational approaches can include several, as I mentioned. One of them is called action learning, and this is education for management, education, teaching, development. Problem-based learning, it's also sometimes incorporated teams, and this is curriculum interactive teaching method in medical education. Project-based learning, this is applied in the interdisciplinary, authentic interdisciplinary student-centered learning activities, especially I think in engineering. And the team-based learning that I was mentioned, it's developed by Larry Mackelson, Dr. Larry Mackelson. He's a business faculty in a business school, and it is innovated early in 1990s. Right? So let's talk about team-based learning a little bit in OUWB School of Medicine. I came in 2013. The first time to hear about team-based learning when I joined OUWB in 2013. I was really fascinated about how this pedagogy is. And the curriculum at that time, so far, from 2013 so far, almost approximately, it adopts around 32 TBL sessions during the first preclinical 2 years. What we expect when we implement TBL in classrooms, we expect that learners will acquire also several skills, like the SDL skills. TBL also will enhance their skills related to what? Accountability, team teaching, they teach each other in teams, critical analytical thinking, adaptability, and definitely they need to learn how they professionally communicate with each other, right? So at the end, we hoping that they will be effective, collaborative, professional team member. When they graduate, they will learn in team, they will work in team, they need to be effective, collaborative, professional team members. So let's talk about the innovation. And we named it as self-directed team learning, innovative approach, SDL, SDTL. When you think about it, we merge both SDL and TBL. So in this case, we have self-directed learning that I explained. We have team-based learning. When they are merged together, they will end up with this innovation, which is a self-directed team learning. So let's talk about the process when we merged both, how we did it in OUWB. So I don't know if you really have a background about team-based learning, but because of the time, I will just quickly, when we merge both of them, I will quickly, kind of explain TBL as well. Usually, TBL or team-based learning structure is a session with background designed, and it consists of 3 phases. The first phase is to give students something to study. So there is a specific resource that you provided to students to study. This is the regular TBL, right? But if we merge it with self-directed learning, it will be definitely different. So what we have done, we asked, usually in our class, it's 125 students, so there are 21 teams per class, right? So we asked the 21 teams before the session starts, the in-person session, it's a mandatory session. Before the in-person session starts, approximately by 4 weeks, 1 month, if it's possible, 3 weeks, according to the length of the course, right? So we ask them to start working team to solve a same significant application exercise. Usually what we have done, we used actually a platform, it's called Inti Dashboard. Inti Dashboard is designed specifically for team-based learning pedagogy. So we opened this application exercise for the 21 teams to work offline. We don't know how they do it. We ask teams to start work on one case, clinical case, and this is the same for all 21 teams, all right? Definitely, when you think about the case, you need to provide a clinical case. It's significant for them to help them to learn something, for their, kind of the objectives for the course. So we provided 21 teams of students the significant clinical case via a platform called NT Dashboard. We don't actually give them any hint about how much they need to meet, how many times they need to meet, where they will meet, how they will work together. We will leave it them up to each team. They have to plan their time. They have to come together to start working on this clinical case. And we asked 3 questions per the case. So we give a vignette of clinical case, and we ask them 3 questions. What the topics you need to study to solve this? What the information resources you need to use in order to be knowledgeable of the foundation concepts in order to solve this problem? And how do you reach to the differential diagnosis and the treatment for this patient? So in this case, we enhance self-directed intra-team learning. This is outside of the classroom. We have 2 terminologies, intra-team and inter-team. Intra-team, each team work together by themselves. Inter-team, when all teams come in the classroom, start to learn from each other. This is called inter-team, right? So in the intra-team phase, we leave them outside the classroom in order to self-direct themselves to solve this clinical case. Then after approximately 21, this is how we implemented, 21 days, each team has to submit their answers via the NT Dashboard platform that we open the case for them to solve, all right? Question 1 responses, I am as a course co-director at that, when we implemented this. And actually, so I'm in charge of this innovation so far. So the course co-director, which is me as a foundational medical sciences, collected all of the 21 answers and generate a list of common topics for a quiz, multiple choice questions that they will take when they come to the class in person. So what I have done, I collected all of the answers of the first question. What are the topics they need to study? As I told you, this is, oh my God, 5 minutes only? Okay, good. So this is the list of topics, all right? And the topics not necessarily be my discipline, which is I teach physiology. It's integrated, right? Anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, microbiology, pathology, whatever topics they wrote. Then the question 2 is what resources it's collected, sent to the librarian faculty, and he generates gratefully the narrative feedback for in-person inter-team discussion. Question number 3, it's clinical answers. It is collected, shared with the clinical co-director to generate list of questions that he will stimulate the inter-team discussions during in-person, right? So now we have this team accountability generation of prompts with this process. Then in person, when it comes in person, we have what's called simultaneous reporting of their whole 21 team answers via NT Dashboard. Then after that, it's me and the clinical co-director, Dr. Simon Rexon. He is the clinician who co-facilitate using different techniques. We co-facilitate the inter-team discussion, during the in-person. And all of our facilitation prompt questions have been kind of asked to the teams to stimulate inter-team discussion of the prepared prompts. All right, so now inside the classroom, we stimulated inter-team learning. And after we finished facilitation, stimulation, we delivered what's called foundational learning assurance test. And this is a multiple choice questions that students need to take individually. This is called the I-flat. Then in teams, the same exact MCQ question will be taken in teams. So we have answers on an individual level, then we have answers as a team level, all right? This is called T-flat. And we debrief about the questions. They already know from the NT dashboard what they get wrong, what they get right, because it is T-flat means they have the immediate feedback technique that they know, oh, it's actually more than one, they can try more than one until they reach to the correct answer. So they know if they got it, let's say the team selected A and A was wrong. They need to think about it, teach each other why A is wrong. Let's think about the other choice. So they know already the answers. And this is why it's called immediate feedback technique. And they debrief at the end. So we have the students assess their learning. We have some questions for the learners in our course evaluation to know the feedback about this pedagogy, SDTL. We use Likert scale, we use open-ended questions. The majority, above 75% of the class, strongly agreed on the integrated team learning session that effectively enhanced their learning, made them motivated to learn new information, made them identify the gaps in their own mastery of material. What really also they found that it is collaborative experience, very good collaborative experience, excellent collaborative experience. Above 70% revealed that the session was helpful for final exam preparation. And the narrative also, as you can see, where some of them were very positive. However, definitely we have disliked narratives, including absence of assigned preparatory materials. They didn't like it, but there is no resources to study for these multiple choice questions. We left for them to select what they need to study, select from where they study, but of course, some students didn't like that. They need to have something. And the second thing, they didn't like how the SDL is, kind of being prepared of understanding individually without the specific assignment. And other student also, one of the students, I have really hard time learning things verbally. He's talking about the facilitation of the course, of the course correctors, and be ready for the flat after that. So the conclusion, implementing SDTL meets the LCME requirements. Additionally, SDTL allows students to collaborate together, to develop important competency skills, and to be prepared for working on a multidisciplinary team. I would like to acknowledge my collaborating Drs. Gustavo Batino and Sarah Lerchenfeld. I would like to acknowledge Dr. Simon Dixon and all of the teaching faculty who helped me to write the MCQ questions away from my discipline. I only wrote one question, which is the physiology. The rest, I sent all of the teaching faculty, this is the topics, would you please write one question related to your topic? So they wrote the question for the flat. And definitely, I appreciate also the librarian faculty who prepared a narrative for each of the team. Thank you.